Welcome and thank you for joining our presentation on careers and commercial real estate. Tonight we have three experts who will be telling you about three major career tracks in commercial real estate: property management, engineering, and construction. We'll start with a quick video, then we'll hear from our experts. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to pop them into the chat or ask the presenter directly.
Consider a career in commercial real estate. There are commercial, industrial, and retail buildings all around us. The coffee shop, your doctor's office, the building where you work. This is commercial real estate. In 2019 alone, $85 billion was spent to develop commercial real estate in the U.S. This is 5.5 times more than the NFL brings in revenue in a year. Real estate requires skilled and trained staff to manage and maintain it. Real estate professionals are responsible for multi-million-dollar assets. If you see yourself working in an office or see yourself in a more hands-on environment, commercial real estate could be a career path for you. There are many job opportunities in commercial real estate. This video will cover three major areas: property management, engineering, and construction. Buildings are like small cities, and the property manager is like the mayor. They work with a team of professionals to solve problems and create a welcoming environment. Commercial real estate requires skilled and trained staff to manage and maintain it. They are also responsible for building relationships with owners, tenants, and vendors to ensure that building operations run smoothly. The property administrator is an entry-level position which requires customer service, problem-solving skills, and is exciting because no day is the same as another. Property management partners with building engineering. Engineers are the doctors of the building. Tools in hand, they're the boots on the ground, first responder to tenant requests and maintenance tasks. The engineering team is made up of employees at all different levels, either stationary at a single building or roving amongst many. The maintenance tech is an entry-level position which requires problem solving, mechanical aptitude, a high level of customer service, and communication skills. Building engineers find satisfaction in working on machinery and equipment in a team setting or independently. Construction supports the needs of both property management and engineering. As companies come and go, offices are torn down and reconstructed. This is part of the company's culture to have a unique space to fit their specific needs. No two spaces are the same. Entry-level positions include either a laborer who works in the field or a project engineer who supports the details of the project. Construction personnel go from job site to job site and get to see projects from demo to completion. Jobs in property management, building engineering, and construction have been on the rise, and finding new talent is one of the most important tasks for this industry in the years to come. To learn more about jobs in commercial real estate, visit our website.
All right. So first up, we have Crystal Montez, who is a property manager for CIM Group, and she'll be talking to you about property management.
All right. Hello, Christine said. My name is Crystal. I'm a property manager. I have been doing this for about, in the industry for about 12 years now. And so one of my first slides is actually just a couple buildings that I have worked on before. So when I first started, originally from California, so these are a couple of the buildings that I worked at in LA area. And the great thing about commercial real estate is that, office buildings are everywhere, retail is everywhere. So, finding a job, you can find a job almost anywhere working in any of these types of buildings. So when I moved to Seattle, these are some of the buildings. And the next slide, couple other buildings that I've worked on as well. So most of them, my experience has been mostly in office. And so you'll see how, how massive these buildings are, how big they are. They're all very different, but, like the video explains, they're kind of like little cities in themselves, right? So in these buildings, you have several different companies that rent office space. So there's different companies that are in these buildings. and they have all of their employees as well. So you have, you know, hundreds of different people coming in and out of these buildings on a daily basis. And so it takes a big team to run these buildings. So we have a huge staff. And part of my job as a property manager is to work with these teams and oversee a lot of these departments. So this includes our security guards, our janitorial staff, parking. We work very closely with engineering, and you'll hear Aaron share more about that later. And then we work very closely with our vendors too. So any one-off jobs or very niche particular things that we might need, construction in particular, you know, we reach out to our vendors, and Andrew will talk about all of that as well. And so that's, again, that's part of my role, is just overseeing all of these departments, kind of working in tandem with everybody, making sure that the tenants are happy, making sure that, you know, working with ownership, making sure that everything's kind of running as smoothly and efficiently as possible. So that's kind of just very high level overview of what it is that I do. Every day is a little different. So that kind of, you know, just high level overview of that. So if property management is something that interested you, we have a slide here that shows an example of what an entry position or entry level position would look like. So property administrator can start anywhere from $45,000 to $55,000 annually. And different companies have different requirements. So, you know, some might require high school diploma and maybe some applicable experience. Others might require a 4-year college degree. But there's a lot of flexibility there. And so there's something for everyone if it's, you know, something that you were interested in. And great thing about commercial is there is a great path. There's a lot of different opportunities within the industry, but just within property management, you can turn it into a very lucrative, successful career. So next slide shows some of the different positions that are available and some of the salary ranges that come with that. So again, this is very, very high level of what it is that I do just on the management side. So not sure if there's any questions or if we wanted to wait till the end or maybe hand it off to Aaron.
Again, just another quick reminder, feel free to ask any questions in the chat box or just feel free to unmute yourself. Next up, we have Aaron Mitchell, who's the Assistant Chief Engineer at Wright Runstad and Company, and he'll be talking to you about engineering.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Aaron Mitchell. I work for Wright Runstad and Company. I've been in the industry for approximately 12 years. I came from a construction background out of high school and kind of found myself into engineering. Can you skip into the next one? Currently, I am the Assistant Chief Engineer, like I said, of Rainier Square, which is the building on the left, Rainier Tower, the one on the right, and 400 University. And I'm standing on the roof when I took this picture of that building in downtown Seattle. Can go to the next one now. Entry level position is junior engineer. Here we have our junior engineer for the block. He is actually changing light bulbs in a lighting fixture. The starting salary for a junior engineer is $60,000 a year, roughly. Kind of translates to $30 an hour. And you can work your way up to chief engineer, which is the next step above me, and that can get to about $150,000 a year, which is around $75 an hour. Next slide. Here we have one of our building engineers. He's actually running the emergency electric power generator in Rainier Square. We exercise it weekly, and he's running it and taking notes on the readings he finds. Here he is now down in the parking garage of Rainier Square. This is the fire pump, which supplies the sprinkler system, fire suppression for the building. We run this weekly to make sure it runs, because if it didn't, it'd be a bad day for us. So he runs that weekly. He's checking it out to make sure, you know, everything looks good before he starts it up. We also manage tenant improvements or build outs. So when a new tenant comes into the building, the construction company comes in and basically builds out the space for them. We manage it from the landlord / operations side, kind of keep everybody in line, make sure they're following the building rules and regulations. This is a restaurant that is going into 400 University, which is the 10-story building. So it just started a couple weeks ago. We also take care of preventative maintenance on all of the equipment. This is an air handler, which is a HVAC unit, supplies air, cooling, and heating to a tenant space. Here is our junior engineer. He is actually changing the filters. So we filter the air before it goes into the space. We also, here's the building engineer. He's actually taking electrical readings on the fan motors, the compressors, which help create the cooling, checking for any kind of electrical damage inside the cabinet. We want to get ahead of the problems before they become emergencies. Here is one example of an on-call emergency that happens every so often. This was a flood in a tenant space that I responded to a while back. We usually show up, stop the issue, contain it, and then work with a water remediation hazard company to kind of clean everything up and put everything back together. You can find us on the Instagram at Rainier Square, at Rainier Tower, and at 400 University. You can see kind of the happenings going on the block, pictures of our team, pictures of the building, just day-to-day stuff, tenants. It's kind of a cool site, get away from the technical stuff and kind of just see what's going on around the block. Check it out. Hit us with a like.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Andrew Bry, a project executive for Abbott Construction, and he'll be talking to you about construction.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Christine. So I'm Andrew Bry, project executive at Abbott Construction. We are located down in SoDo, south of the stadiums in Seattle. And today we'll talk a little bit about commercial construction and general contracting. So we could go to the first slide, which is, what is a general contractor? So general contractor is somebody that estimates, so figures out how much a project is going to cost, orders all the materials needed to put the project together. So that could be anything. If you look around your house right now, anything and everything as part of your house was ordered at some point by a contractor, whether that's the trim wood or the drywall or the paint or the flooring or your heater or your lights. All those things were coordinated at some point to make sure they fit where they were supposed to go, to make sure they arrived on site by the time they needed to be installed, and that they were installed properly. So the first part of the process is to gather all of those materials. And then the next part is to put it all together, which is the fun part. So we also utilize subcontractors for a lot of our work who are experts in specific fields. So instead of having one person that paints on our staff and one person that installs flooring and one person that does the electrical work, we go out and we hire companies that specialize in that. So we'll hire an electrician and a painting company and someone to put the windows in. And maybe if we're going into an existing space and turning it into something else, maybe we'll even hire a demolition contractor that goes in and tears things apart, which is always really fun. We manage the project budget, make sure that we don't need to charge the owner more than we told them it was going to cost, and also the project schedule to make sure that we deliver the project on time and that it is ready for occupancy when the tenant or the restaurant or whoever else is ready to move in. We work really closely with architects that design the projects and then the owners of the building to make sure everybody gets what they're looking for and that the design ends up being what is built. And on top of all those things, we're also responsible for the safety of the job site and the general public around our job site, making sure we build a really high quality building that lasts a long time and doesn't have leaks in it, and for meeting code requirements from what the city and the state or nationally, all those different rules that go into building buildings and what can and can't be done. If you go to the next slide. So as part of a general contractor, there's lots of different opportunities. There's the project executive who oversees a lot of different projects going on in client relationships. There's project manager, who's the money person, and their primary contact for the owner as well. You have the project engineer, which is an entry-level position typically out of college, and they're involved with getting everything ordered for the job site, make sure they ordered enough of everything, that everything fits together nicely, that the paint color that the architect is desiring is what is actually going to be installed on the walls and that it looks nice. And they are the manager of all information for the project. So it's a really fun position because that person typically at the end of a project knows more about the job than any other employee on the job, which is pretty fun. And then there's a superintendent. So this is more of a field position. And you would be out day to day with your construction boots on in the fresh air, which a lot of people like. And you're managing the process and making sure that the project gets done on schedule. There's also a foreman who's also on site, and they are managing all the subcontractors and making sure they're working nicely together, that if two people need to work in the same place at the same time, they can move people around to make sure that everybody can keep working efficiently. And then there's carpenters and trade workers, and this is a really important position that's often overlooked by people coming out of high school, as this is an area where you can actually make a lot of money. You can get exercise and be out and be active every day. You can build really cool things. And there's a huge demand for this. So if you can show up to work on time every day and work hard, you'll always have a job. So salaries and benefits. So most of us have a bachelor's degree in construction management or business. There's also certificate programs and other ways you can go about it. Civil engineering is another one that's common. For an entry-level person out of college, usually they can make $70,000 to $75,000. There's other benefits that come with it, like our project engineers get a fuel card for their gas. And then as soon as you get into project management, which is maybe 5 to 8 years after graduation, if everything goes well, you can make well over $100,000. You can get a company car, bonus, all sorts of other things that can make it pretty fun. So at the end of the day, all of our jobs in commercial construction is delivering a high quality project that meets customer requirements on time and on budget. So pretty easy, right? So here's some of the day-to-day tasks. We'll just go through these quickly. So business development, we got to go out and find work and then price it or compete to make sure that, or to try to win the project. We have to estimate, put a budget together, work with the design team and the owner like we talked about, schedule the project, ask questions, submit all the products to make sure they're exactly what the team is expecting to see on site, the colors are right, write any change orders if there's budget changes or if the owner decides they want something different for the job, and then keep meeting minutes to document what was talked about when we meet each week with the group. And we also negotiate a lot of contracts with owners and subcontractors to make sure everybody knows exactly what they're agreeing to provide and for what cost. So here's a few other things: safety, site logistics. We have to bill for the work that we're doing. We have to forecast to make sure that the project coming in under budget. We have to pay everybody every week. That's really important, or people stop showing up if you don't pay them. We have to support the field staff and whatever they need to keep the project moving efficiently. At the end of the job, we create a gigantic manual of owner instructions on how to care for everything, what needs to happen to clean the floor. If you want to patch some paint, what color is it? What's the manufacturer? And then we do a lot of training as well to teach everybody what they need to do to get to the next level of their career. So these are all the different things that go into a construction project. You can't have all of them typically, or not easily. So usually if you get one, you give up a different thing. So our job's general contractors to balance all these things to keep everybody happy. So for example, if you don't have a lot of time, usually it costs a lot more to build something. If you have a poor quality, then your customer satisfaction is not good. If you have no budget, it's really hard to get a lot of scope. So all these things go hand in hand, and they're what we manage on a daily basis. So here's a couple examples of commercial construction projects in the Seattle area, just to give you an idea of what we're doing on a daily basis, or what you might be able to do at some point. So this is the Fairmont Hotel. So just a couple materials in this space that are unique. The marble floor is from Italy. All of the benches and banquettes and chairs, all those things are from Spain. The carpet on the upper level there is from Thailand. So there's all sorts of different things that go into this from around the world, and you're busy coordinating all of the time. The design team on this was even from Spain. So we would get on the phone really early in the morning in Seattle when it was really late in the day in Spain and talk to them about any questions we had. This is a new office building for the FAA down at SeaTac. So of course, extremely complicated and a high security building as well. Grocery stores. So anytime you go to buy your food, a general contractor built that grocery store that you're going into. This is a unique project down in Portland for the NBA basketball team, the Trailblazers. So everything in this room is actually oversized. So it all looks to scale because there's no one standing in here. But if I were to sit in one of these chairs, the chair's much bigger than a normal chair to accommodate all of the very large basketball players. Private airplane hangar, very unique, but at the same time, as a general contractor, we built this building for a local billionaire that needed somewhere to store his airplane down at Boeing Field. Schools. So every day you go to school, look around, you can see all of the different finishes and textures and products in that building. All of those were coordinated by a general contractor. And a restaurant. So anytime you go out to eat, same thing. Everything in that restaurant, the kitchen equipment, how the exhaust hood is getting all of the fumes from the smoke from grilling your burger up to the roof to make sure the restaurant doesn't smell bad. All those things are coordinated by the contractor. Down at Lumen Field, the whole stadium was built by a general contractor, and all of the little spots and places within the stadium, whether it's the restaurants or anything else, all of those are coordinated and improved over time. We're always out at Lumen Field doing something. And so the Pro Shop's a good example of that. Right. And finally, any medical facility. So if you go to the doctor or hospital, all of those items are coordinated and built by general contractors as well. Very complicated usually because there's lots of equipment and mountings that need to be coordinated so that there's wall plugs and power and data and all those different devices in the right spots in each of the rooms. Is there any questions about general contracting, commercial construction, or any of the other presentations that were had tonight as well?
So it looks like there was a comment from one of our guests here. So thanks for sharing the salary range, Crystal, the photos, Aaron, and details about general contractor management side of things, Andrew. We actually know someone who works at the Fairmont Hotel.
Oh, there we go. All right. That's the other thing we always, when I was in school, they always told us, and it's extremely true, and I would assume everyone else on the call will agree with me, that Seattle's a really small market. So you see people over and over, and I've had it a few times now where I've worked with somebody that actually worked with me or for me or whatever you want to say, and they ended up at some point transitioning, and now they work for an owner. So now they're actually our boss. So it always pays to treat everybody with respect and cordially, especially in this market, because you do end up seeing people all the time.
I always say little big city.
Yes. Yep, exactly right.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? If you have anything, feel free to throw that in the chat or just unmute yourself. In the meantime, this is the contact information of our three experts today. So if you think of any questions in the future or want to reach out, feel free to do so. Their emails are right on the screen for you. And we have a couple more minutes left, so we'll hang on for a little bit. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, if you need anything else, just please reach out. We're happy to help.